Thanks for tuning in. I'm Johnathon Bush with Truth to Heart Ministries here in Central Florida. And we are with our frequent friend, collaborator, I guess, well, guest, Virgil Walker. Virgil, we just saw you a few weeks ago and had a wonderful time at our conference. And you did, as well as the other speakers, a fantastic sermon. We're so thankful for the relationship that we have, and thankful that you have agreed to take time out of your busy schedule to address the issue that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Um, First of all, how are you doing? What are you up to? I know there's some plugs that you probably want to get in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know where people will be by the time this is airing. I'm preparing now for the cessationist conference there in Oklahoma City in Mustang, Oklahoma. Our guys are fast and furiously packing up stuff and, putting our trailer together and making sure we're dotting I's and crossing T's on everything and working with the church that's there. And we were testing out live stream stuff. I mean, just it's nonstop. So doing that. It's October 3rd through the 5th, so it'll be and quite a little bit here that we'll be headed out. I'll be headed out, in fact, on Monday. And so I'll get there. I'll be a part of the advanced team. I go on Monday. A couple of other guys are out on Tuesday, and we kind of get the ball rolling from there. And so Thursday starts the event, and we go in through Saturday. But that's happening, and then on the backside of that, trying to get back as soon as possible because Dr. Josh Bice has a ton of speaking engagements. He never travels alone, so either I, one of the other leaders, or his wife is with him, and so we'll leave there and travel to the Ark Encounter, Answers in Genesis. There's a pastor's conference there that he's speaking in. I'll be with him there. I'll be taking some equipment from here. From there, we come back. I have to go to Springfield, Illinois, to speak at a conference there, and then I come back, and then the following week, Dr. Bison, I will be in Texas for an abortion rally, kind of a abolitionist rally, if you will, that we're looking forward to partaking in. So October is packed, jam packed, full of stuff, and we're looking forward to all that will be coming up here in the next month, and just pray our strength in the Lord as we kind of navigate the next few weeks.
Right. Yeah, and also you want to you got your next year's conference, the G3 National Conference in September, that
Yep.
I know that you're already putting a lot of work into that.
Yeah, we're already thinking about that. In fact, I was working on that over lunch, trying to push. In fact, here's some news for you. I'm trying to work out the contract for the 2027 G3 conference, and so we're working that far out. But yeah, no, the 25 conference will be here in a heartbeat, September 9th through the 11th. Here in Atlanta, Georgia. Go to g3min.org. You can get tickets there at a great price, at a great rate before they go up. I think the next price increases sometime in January of next year. So you'll definitely want to take advantage of a low price.
Yeah, and definitely worth it, as I've attended, and I'll see you there in
Yep.
September as well. Um, Going back to what the conference that you're going to to and speak at in a couple weeks, the Abolitionist Conference, and that really is the subject matter that we want to discuss today. So, what is abolition? The term seems to be a fairly new term, but I think it's needed because there is a difference between the abolitionist movement and the pro-life movement. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's kind of been made clear here in the last few years. I became a part of abolition probably, gosh, maybe 8, 10 years ago, and did so while I was still living in Omaha, Nebraska. We had Nebraska AHA, Abolish Human Abortion. I was a part of that for a number of years, and I recognized the difference was simply the idea that abolitionists truly advocated for the abolishing of abortion. Again, with a hat tip toward the abolitionists of slavery, who desire to see slavery end. They have a position that says that's all they're after. Like they don't want to deal with half measures. They're immediatists. They want the abolition of abortion immediately. They want it abolished immediately. There's no half steps, half measures, heartbeat bills. None of the ideas that kind of have been a real part of the pro-life movement. And so where they've been more of the mindset that, this incremental approach towards seeing abortion end is the way to go. Abolitionists say no. We're immediatists. We want it. We see it as evil. We see it as a moral wickedness that we have to end immediately. And so that's kind of the big difference as we've begun having more and more of us and advocating for the abolition of abortion. One of the things that's been interesting that we've run into with the pro-life movement is that they have at times been proponents, or I'm sorry, been against us, and have really fought against some of the ideas around the abolition of abortion. For example, there's been states where we've wanted to advocate for equal protection under the law. In other words, a baby in the womb, if we believe that is a human being created in the image of God, should have the same protections under the law that you and I have as it relates to murder. If we were murdered, it would be illegal, and there would be legal consequences as a result of someone murdering you or I. And in our estimation, because of the fact that we truly believe that an infant in the womb or baby in the womb, from the moment of conception, is indeed a human being, that they deserve those same protections as well. And what we have, or what we find in many states, is that when pro-lifers hear that, they've been for so long believing that women are the victims as it relates to abortion, and that because of their victimhood status, they should be protected from any adjudication of the law for the murder of their child in the womb. And we just simply reject that.
Yeah, and you, of course, with compromises such as rape and incest, you kind of have that to where because
Right.
she's the victim,
Right.
but obviously, guys like you and me, we understand that I mean, it's not her body, it's not her choice, and that's in the providence of God. As you said, that is a child made in God's image, and it's not that child's fault, and murder is murder. So I
Yeah.
agree that I would consider myself an abolitionist. I think that these compromising laws have not moved the needle a whole lot. And if a baby is a baby at 6 weeks, a baby is a baby at conception, in my view. No matter how small the child, it's a child, and to terminate it is certainly murder.
Yeah.
And so I do see the abolitionist movement seems to be gaining steam and amongst Christians, as we see the difference and we see that we're not having the effect that we should be having if we just keep compromising. And
Right.
so we it's election season, obviously, and one of the reasons I'm kind of urgent in getting this video out is because, of course, mail-in ballots are already out. People are casting their votes now, and we just want to be educated as to, and again, things like this are meant to inform, not indoctrinate, not influence necessarily. But former President Trump, one of his, in his own, and I believe it was good, but in his estimation, one of his crowning achievements was the overturning of Roe versus Wade a few years ago. Can you comment on that and maybe explain to our hearers what that means and what that doesn't mean?
Right. Yeah. Well, when Roe v. Wade was overturned, and basically it was the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade, and what the Dobbs decision said is that the federal government would no longer provide oversight and protection for I just call it the murder of babies in the womb. That was now no longer a protected constitutional right, that there was no constitutional protection available for that kind of a decision that a mother would make with her physician. And as a result, those decisions, now no longer federally protected, would be turned over to each state for them to decide how they wanted to deal with abortion. And so what many people thought was, oh, Roe v. Wade is overturned, that ends abortion. And the reality is that has not at all ended abortion. In fact, there are many states where abortion has increased. And what the numbers don't tell you, if you look at just the numbers, like if you go to a website like Guttmacher, where they kind of keep a record of all of the abortion statistics, what you'll see there is a decline. And so you're thinking, oh, great, Roe v. Wade ended, and there's a decline in the number of abortions. The problem with that is there are a lot of abortions that take place through medicine, medical abortions through medicine, medication that people can get in their homes, at telemedicine. In fact, 54% of the abortions are now taking place at home with a pill, no doctor visit. They literally pass the fetus there in the home, and barring any complications whatsoever, they go on to live the life. The mother goes on to live her life in a relatively normal way. That said, those kinds of abortions are not being recorded any longer. And so while the overarching numbers look like they're waning, there are a vast number of those types of abortions that are no longer being adjudicated, being recorded. You haven't, as a result, a lot of states who are battling this issue. I know in Florida, you guys have, is it Prop 4? Is that what you guys are working with
Yeah,
there?
Amendment 4. Yep.
Yeah, Amendment 4. And where I'm originally from, where I lived for more than a decade in the state of Nebraska, we have two amendments, and these are what the abortion in industry is trying to do is they're trying to enshrine abortion into the state's constitutions. And the reason for that is once they do that, once they are able to do that, uh, legal procedures is irrelevant. For example, right now, do you guys are, and you tell me in Florida, you guys don't have a heartbeat bill, do you? A 6-week heartbeat bill?
We do. I
Do you? Okay.
believe
I,
so.
I did know. I know we do. I know we do here in
Yeah.
Georgia, and so let me use Nebraska as an example because this I think will be helpful. And because I was from Nebraska. In Nebraska, you could murder a child in the womb up to 20 weeks. Well, after the Dobbs decision, there were those people who were trying to pro-lifers and others who wanted the state legislature to turn that from a 20-week abortion ban to a 12-week abortion ban. And they were successful moving that through the legislature. So by moving it through the legislature, what I mean is they went to the state government and appealed to lawmakers there in the state who said, "Yeah, I'll support that," and they got enough votes in what the Nebraska calls their unicameral to pass this 12-week ban. So now abortion can take place up to 12 weeks. So they've moved from 20 weeks to 12 weeks. Good thing in the mind of most. The problem with that is twofold. One, it leaves a category of human beings created in the image of God without protection. But for the time being, that's all that they could get. So that's what they did. Well, what's happened is now the pro-abortion movement has come in and said, we're going to put an amendment into the Constitution that allows abortion up to 30 some odd weeks. And they actually got that amendment on the ballot. So here's where the pro-life movement misses it, especially in Nebraska. Rather than motivating their people to say, let's vote no on this amendment to ensure that abortion is not in our Constitution. What the pro-life movement did was they said, let's put our 12-week ban and enshrine it into the Constitution. Well, the problem with that is once you do that, and if it passes, they will enshrine the murder of children in the first trimester into their state's constitution if they're successful. Um, I hope they're not successful, right? Because the legal procedure for overturning that once it's in the state's constitution would be to enact another state amendment. And while that sounds simple, it is not. To enact a state amendment, you have to get, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10 to 15% of the entire voting electorate in the state. And for Nebraska, a smaller state,
Mhm.
it's about 250,000 signatures that you have to get simply to have the amendment on the ballot. And then once it's on the ballot, then it's voted on. That's a Herculean effort.
Right.
And often when you enshrine 12-week abortion, because of the pro-life movement, and I apologize for being long-winded here,
No,
but
no.
because the pro-life movement has trained us that 12-week abortion bans are okay, 6-week heartbeat bills are okay. If that gets enshrined in the Constitution, people for the most part will say, I mean, that's as good as it gets.
Right.
And so as a result, babies in the womb up to 12 weeks can be murdered at will, and it is now something that is enshrined in the Constitution. My suggestion for my friends in Nebraska is to vote no for the 30-week pro-abortion bill and to vote no for the 12-week abortion enshrinement as well, with the hope that if pro-life people want to move the ball forward, what they should do is go back to the unicameral, go back to the state legislature and say, we want a 6-week ban. Or, like you and I would say, is let's abolish this thing and take this blot off of our state forever. Let's just abolish abortion altogether. And so they could do that legislatively by working with 50 senators and Congress people in the state, right? You can work with 100 plus state lawmakers, or you can work on going and getting 200 plus thousand signatures just to get it on the ballot and then have everyone in the state vote on it. So as you can see, legislatively a smaller lift, but when you get to the amendments, it's a much larger lift. I know for you guys, Amendment 4, you just want people to vote no for that. That's the hope. But again, people don't know what you go in blind. You have no idea what you're voting for. And if the language reads in a specific way that doesn't really accurately represent what you're voting for, you could inadvertently vote in favor of an amendment that you never intended to have, to have the impact that it does.
Yeah, and the language is tricky on that, and it's tricky on purpose because again, I think I checked the year that the heartbeat bill went into effect is 2023 here in Florida at
Gotcha.
6 weeks.
Mhm.
And but that has a caveat. It has exceptions.
Yeah.
Those who've been victims of human trafficking, incest.
Mhm.
Amendment 4 is worded in such a way really that under the advisement of a medical professional that a woman would pretty much have free, I mean, any term essentially to abort her or to murder her baby. And I mean, even that's vague. A medical professional, I mean, that could be a therapist, it could be a nurse, it could be a doctor, it could be anybody. And of course, I think that you are absolutely correct in that we haven't pushed the ball forward with these compromises, and even with these exceptions, again, as you said, you're leaving out a whole really class of babies that through
Right.
no fault of their own, the fact that somebody did a bad thing to somebody else, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. So we do have an election coming up, and one of the things that has been disappointing about, and we know where the far left stands on the issue of abortion. And they can deny it all they want, but you and I both know that if they could terminate, and I think was it the former governor of Virginia who
Yes.
advocated for if there is a baby who is born under the advisement of a doctor and discussing it with a mother, that essentially they can just go ahead and murder the
Mhm.
child. So I don't even think it's not even an issue about when does is life considered viable, when does
No.
a baby actually become a living being. I think that that's out the window. It's
Yeah.
they're saying what they had been saying in quiet, out
out
loud
loud.
now. And
Yeah.
so we have some two political candidates. We know where Kamala stands. We know just Biden and their agenda. One of the things that was hopeful about former President Trump is last time he seemed to take a stronger stand
Right, right.
on the issue of abortion, but now he's waffling, so to speak. He is compromising on the issue. And so, could you comment on that?
Yeah. Two things real quick. One is the issue that you raised with exceptions. I just want to address that really quickly.
Yeah.
The idea that that rape and incest are reasons or rationales for abortion, and they just absolutely aren't. There is no justification. All it will do, all that murdering the child in the womb will do, is it will compound the tragic horror of what took place. One, she's been raped. She'll never erase that from her memory. And secondarily, she will now be guilty of the murder of a child, a human being created in the image of God. Same with incest as well. Finally, no child deserves the ending of their life, the murder of their life, because of the actions
Mhm.
of the father. The child actually being born is something that holds the father, the rapist, accountable for actions. So I want to start there. So do as it pertains to the issue of Roe v. Wade, and seeing that overturned with the Dobbs decision, and what he did primarily was, let's be clear, was to elect or select judges to place them on the Supreme. I don't credit him as much as I credit the providence of God for what took place and how that all happened. I also recognize that Trump is a human being, and that with flaws. He's also a pragmatist. He doesn't really have a North Star, if you will, that guides all of his worldview. His worldview is populist. His worldview is pragmatic. And as a result, he's examining the winds of change, recognizing that right now there are 10 states who have abortion amendments in their, that they're fighting at a state constitutional level, and that the last thing that he wants to do is to rally that base by having them in those states get to the polls, because he's announced an abortion ban across the United States. Now, you and I would love to hear him say, "Yeah, I'm doubling down. I plan to ban it across the United States," with the hope that there would be enough support to rally to get him in office. The reality is, unfortunately, evangelicals in mass do not necessarily go to the polls. And in fact, if you listen recently, there was he was at a rally, and I can't remember what state it was in. I want to say New York, but I'm not for sure. He's pleading for evangelicals to get out and vote. He recognizes that, that he needs their support to see things happen, and so he's recognizing he may not get full support from evangelicals. His thought is he's definitely not worse than Kamala. He's making a pragmatic, populist, calculated decision, to use the language that he's using. But my estimation is I've got more of a shot at changing the mind of a Trump if necessary. I don't believe it's necessary, but if it were necessary, I'd have a better opportunity to change his mind than I ever would Kamala's. And I recognize there will be those abolitionists who say, "I'm just going to abstain altogether. I can't vote for a man who would not protect the life of an innocent human being." I completely respect that view. It was a view that I had his first run in office. I did not vote for him. I thought there were too many moral issues and too many question marks as it relates to how he would govern, that caused me to write in my candidate. And in the same way that I felt the liberty to do that, I would offer the same grace, freedom, and liberty for those who to operate in the same way this time around. At the same time, I will be a Christian who will be voting for Trump. I know others who will be, and I'm hopeful to see him win. And then once he does, I plan on rallying with those abolitionists who held that firm stance to push forward the agenda that we want to see, the abolishing of any kind of human form of abortion.
Yeah, and this really is a complex issue, and I like you, I have friends on both sides of
Yeah,
the persuasion that some just their conscience won't let them vote for him, and I get that, I understand that. Others believe that a vote for a non-vote is, or if you sit home, is a vote for Kamala, and
right.
I understand that as well. And do we have a better opportunity of having people get in the ear of Trump than we do Kamala? Absolutely. And so, and another thing that you touched on, and I know this from experience, man, evangelicals, there's too many apolitical evangelicals out there that just don't want to get involved. And I get it. You know, I understand the sovereignty of God, the providence of God, but I mean, God's people throughout all of the ages have been active and to influence their society in whatever way they can.
Right.
And so here's let me ask you this. Um, People often point to Rahab, for example, in the Bible, how, and I'll get to my question here in a moment, how that she lied, but she did so to prevent a greater evil from occurring, and that would be the murder of the spies, as well
Right.
the Hebrew midwives who lied. I think we can look at in First or Second Kings, First Kings, I believe, when Jehoshaphat made an accord with Ahab, you know, an evil king, a righteous king with makes a pact with an evil king because they had a foe in Syria. And so are those examples of is there a biblical concept of the lesser of two evils? Because we hear that often. And then people, well, there's no such thing as and I think it's attributed to Spurgeon in choosing the lesser of two evils, choose none. I'm not sure
Right.
the if that's a real quote or not, but you know, you see that floating around the. So could you comment on that, or do you have any
Yeah.
opinions on it?
Yeah, I understand what people are saying when they say that. For some, hey, I'm voting for the lesser of two evils. It provides a justification for a decision that they're making. For others, who maybe want to make a more, a stance that says, mine's principled, and so as a result, I won't vote for the lesser of two evils. Totally understand that. I don't think the language is helpful here, only because, as it pertains to any human being that is running for political office, particularly, no one is good.
Right.
You and I on our best day aren't good.
Hmm.
All of us are sinful. All of us have flaws. All of us have blind spots. I especially do. I am the chief. I, like Paul, am the chief of sinners. I need the grace of God on a daily basis. And so, if I were to run for office, you could consider me the perhaps the lesser of two evils. Some would say I'm more evil than someone else. It just depends upon your perspective. I don't think that language is helpful. I think it's better if we kind of like you and I just done here. If you're going to vote for someone, you need to have a reason. You
Hmm.
need to express what that reason is and what your rationale is, and then provide the grace for those of us who are indeed believers, who are saying, "Hey, here's why I'm voting in this way and what this looks like." I think there's a case to be made for people, especially Christians, not voting for the Democratic Party. And again, that's the case that I believe that can be made for a party that is advocating LGBTQ rights, for a party that is advocating for the mutilation of children in the womb, for a party that is advocating the absolute murder of children. In fact, it's not simply a party platform. It's a part of it's a part of their worship. I mean, they literally, you talk about taking away abortion, you will see some folks get incredibly angry in the Democratic Party because it's a sacrament for them. It's something that they bow down to and need. As a result, it creates the unequal balance of rights for women that want to act like men and go out and conquer the workforce and the rest of the world. And so again, with that, I think there's a whole lot more to say about the Democratic Party and its platform. Now, does that mean that there's not a good Democrat? No, I mean there may be, there may even be someone who, for whatever political reason, decides to run as a Democrat and maybe has a biblical worldview. I've yet to see many or even one, but perhaps that's the case. All of that to say, rather than leaning into cliche, I'm voting for the lesser of two evils,
Mhm.
or I won't vote for the lesser of two evils. I think it's incumbent upon us as believers to say what we mean, to mean what we say, and to be able to articulate the rationale behind the decisions that we're making, if we're going to be public about who we're voting for.
Yeah, and you touched on that. There's a difference between a political party that just is widespread advocates for evil and really the harm of people, children made in God's image. And if you don't believe that, just go to a school board meeting and
Mhm.
speak out against the pornographic books that are
Yes.
in the school libraries, and you will see the evil people coming out. And for what reason? To simply harm your children. And so
Mhm.
I do think there is a difference there, and I agree with what you said. But I do want to make it clear, and I will be voting for Trump. I just see, obviously abortion is the main issue. But I see a platform that advocates for the opposite of what we're seeing in the other party. And but I also, and as I said, I respect those who they're bound by their conscience. And what I don't like to see is Christians, um, the language that they, and in social media is such a it can be a good thing, but man, it drives you nuts sometimes.
Yep.
But Christians who are just so hard on each other because
Yep.
they differ in their views here, and they're not willing to show each other grace and compassion and liberty.
Yep. No, I agree. I think we've got it. We've got to be willing to listen and talk to someone who does not agree with us, and do so in a way that's God honoring and respectful. I try to do my best. If I'm in a heated debate, especially in the social media sphere, I really try to avoid those altogether.
Mhm.
More times than not, the people that I'm engaging, I probably got their cell number. So if I've got a big issue, I probably just pick up the phone or send a text and say, call me, and keep a lot of the back and forth off of social media. I think there's a time and place for it. But when it becomes personal, and it becomes something where we're just, throwing ad hominems back and forth,
Yeah.
you're ugly. Well, you're ugly. Well, and we're doing that kind of thing. I think it's time for us to push the brakes. We've got to have a better example in the social media sphere than to operate in that way. And again, not to say I have never been guilty of that behavior in the past. I'm sure you can go pull up something I did, a month ago or 2 months ago or however far back. But I am trying to think about those things rightly, and to be respectful in that way to others who also claim the name of the Lord.
Yeah, and it's okay to be passionate about things because I'm passionate about my stance. I mean, I'm passionate about how I feel and my reasoning for doing that.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we can be passionate and we can channel that in a gracious and loving way with one another. And so,
Yep.
I appreciate your perspective on this matter. And I think as people go out to vote, the more informed they are, the more they understand both sides, and they vote as they see fit.
Mhm.
The one thing I can tell you is don't don't vote for Kamala.
Right.
That's one thing that we can say. So, all right. Well, is there anything you want to add to that, or you think that we've covered the ground?
No, I think we covered the ground pretty well. I'm excited about what's going to happen in the next few weeks and months. Like everybody, I'm on pins and needles, just waiting to see what happens with the election. I have tried to do my best, and this might be something I encourage people to do. And I know you're focused on it because of the fact that you're in a state where you've got the amendments and things like that, and you've got a great governor. Few people really take the time to see who's down ballot, right? They focus so much on the presidential election. They don't focus on Congress or the Senate. They don't have a clue what's happening in their state House of Representatives or the state Senate. Or ballot initiatives that are on the ballot. I tried to. I'm here in Georgia. I wanted to go through and look at a ballot ahead of time, and you can do that by going to your state legislator and uh, picking up or downloading the forms and looking at what's on there, what you're going to be voting on. And then while you're at home, before you get there the day of, so that you're not shocked, surprised, or caught off guard, study what's being asked so that you're informed before you go in to make your decision. And so you got a state election board where they've got something on their website that shows you the ballot and shows you what questions are going to be asked. Do your research, know what's going on, and know why you're going to vote yes or no, up or down for anybody. Everything from garbage commissioner
Yeah.
to governor of the state. You need to know what's happening.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, I encourage you to just visit a supervisor of elections and be educated because local governments are so vitally important. In fact, we're trying to get an amendment passed where like school board members are no longer, because right now school board elections are nonpartisan. And
Hmm.
so you really
Gotcha.
you
Yeah,
don't know
don't
much
know.
about them.
Yeah,
So we're trying to pass an amendment where they
you
will
have to
be
get clarity.
partisan
Yeah,
elections. Yeah.
yeah, that's helpful. One of the things I'm trying to do, I put this up. I'm trying to the past month or so. We got a really strong. I'm here in Douglasville, Georgia, Douglas County. I've been trying over the course of the last, gosh, maybe 2 or 3 months to every day pick up the daily newspaper and read through what's happening so that I could get a better feel. I could tell you everything that's happening federally. I can tell you, everything that's going on with a Trump rally, with Kamala. I can tell you all of that stuff. But if you asked me, hey, what's happening at the state school board or county school board, what's happening with who's the mayor of the state? I'm like, wait a minute, do I know? And now, having spent some time just pausing and researching and studying, I know who these people are. I know what they stand for and the like. So it's incredibly helpful.
Good. That's right. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll have you back. We won't have you back so soon because you're pretty busy, but love to have you anytime. You got the cessationist conference coming up. You've got the abolitionist in Texas. I was going to try to make that. I know a friend of mine's going to be there. He'll see you.
Yeah.
You know
I'm
him.
hoping I'm hoping Pastor Guy Kiger's going to be there. I'm hoping he'll be there. So
He said he's got his tickets. He was trying to get
good.
me to go, but I can't make it. But we'll be praying for it, and we appreciate all the hard work that you're doing there.
Thanks, man. Hey, I appreciate the hard work you're doing. Had a fantastic conference. It was great to be with you and looking forward to coming back. So it's going to be great.
All right, we'll see you soon, and God bless you.
All right.